Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Miyazaki's Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind in 1984. So of course, here we are with the Blu-ray, and yes, we're here to review this film. Really been looking forward to, of course, doing more Ghibli reviews. I'm going to, of course, review all the ones I see, and just general anime films. Yes, at some point I'll probably be reviewing some anime series, but not yet. And I have, it's hard to kind of balance it out, shows and films, and of course other things that I'm doing, writing and stuff. But yes, I will get around to some, ones that are meant to be the best at some point. Really look forward to that. But of course, the Ghibli films, of course, very, very popular, and including this one, of course. This is really the first big, significant work from Miyazaki in terms of, success and everything, actual, acclaim and attention. It's actually basically helped, with the founding of Studio Ghibli, with this film, due to the success of it. And yes, mainly, of course, Takahata and Miyazaki forming that. Of course, once again, Takahata producing this film, Miyazaki writing, conceiving, of course, and directing the film, based on his own manga, which was, I believe, a couple of years before this film was made. And yes, so it's 1984, a few years before, Totoro and, of course, Castle in the Sky, which is the first Ghibli film officially. Two films I absolutely adore. Now, yes, this is another film that I watched. I watched Spirited Away, of course. The story is 2016, and that just blew me away. We'll get to that. That is another story. And then of course I bought more. Of course, Mononoke and stuff, and including this film. Watched them, kind of summer of 2017, all bunched together, kind of thing. Maybe that was a good thing, and also I think sometimes a bad thing, because there's a couple of moments from ones like this I got jumbled up a little bit, and I think maybe it's best to leave a couple of days at least between each one to kind of absorb what you've just saw, and kind of then move on to the next one. So watching them every day and stuff. Maybe I even watched two of them in one day. I'm not too sure. Probably not. But yes, over like a week, I watched about 6 or 7 of them. So yes, this was one of them. And yes, this is a rarity, really, with this review. I'm probably going to keep it short. I've not got too much to say, but yes, this film, I think what happened was I was a bit tired on the day, and I think because of my obsessions as a kid as well, from very young age, fantasy and stuff, and just this whole kind of legends of old kind of thing, mythology. Combine that with the fact that I was pretty tired, and maybe I was just lying to myself. I think I gave this too high a rating. I won't up and say, I have to be honest. You've got to be honest in life most of the time. Yeah, I think I did. I gave it too high a score. I didn't give it, as high as the other ones. I've always said, since seeing this, is definitely my least favourite of the Miyazaki's. But I think I did say with Akira, that was my least favourite anime film. I think this is definitely my least favourite that I've seen. It's not a bad film, but definitely, wow, this is not a great film for me. I think I did originally say it was great. I kind of, yeah, I don't even know. I've forgotten a lot of it, kind of a week after I saw it even. So yes, this film, it's a real shame. I don't think it's actually that great at all. It's good, but for me overall it's quite flat. And I think as well I took too much of the kind of the world building itself and the kind of the past, this kind of 1,000 years ago kind of thing. I got caught up in all this kind of lore and stuff, and the music, the grand feel this film has, the kind of the atmosphere at the beginning of the film, and just the whole kind of the world building and stuff, and the spectacle of it, and kind of just the animation as well, wonderful animation. That I really I kind of let that overshadow the fact that I wasn't too invested in the narrative and the characters. And again, when rewatching it now, I can actually say now that I'm not probably tired like I was on the day and stuff. And that rarely happens with films. I try not to do that. But yes, this was probably just a rarity. So I don't really think this is much of an investing film for me. The characters, I really just realised again just how little I was really invested in most of these characters. Nausicaä is said to be a great protagonist. I really disagree. I think she's very basic. Yes, she's kind of a leader and stuff, and kind of a hero, but really, in the most one-sided of ways, it's not really fleshed out. She is kind of just, and the flashbacks, although they're nice to look at and kind of touching, they're not really that developed. They don't really add much to her character. it's more ambiguous stuff, which is fine. But I think really this film it has a very convoluted plot actually. Of course it involves. I'm not going to get into it, but of course 1,000 years before this, there was this wars and these creatures, basically omas or something, and basically yes, massive insects that are mutated because of the war and stuff, and yeah, there's all these things involved, and basically the film covers this and them trying to stop it, these creatures, these insects destroying the rest of the world when they get unleashed. So yes, it's very very kind of political film in that sense. There's a lot of environmental issues raised, and kind of this is the main themes of the film, of course, as well, just honor and kind of just banding together, this kind of stuff against this, and some kind of villains in the film as well. But it's mainly Princess Nausicaa, kind of you could say adventuring, but not really. Seeing the film again, I realised actually the structure of the film is very very weird. Basically, the first 40 minutes of the film in this, and I will praise massively. I still loved the kind of the actual place, the location of the valley. It's beautiful, and I think I got too caught up in that as well. That's one thing, I think because I was tired and stuff, and I wasn't, kind of maybe paying attention to the actual story and stuff as much. I think I did get caught up in the actual scenery and all this kind of stuff. The way it looks, it's wonderful. It's a lovely, peaceful kind of spiritual place, and just the whole community on a surface level, it's very enjoyable. Actually, I couldn't get invested fully in any of these characters really at all, including of course Nausicaa herself. Maybe just the little Tito, the kind of cat that's with her, she's probably the best character for me. I would prefer that character to be the protagonist, because most of the other characters are pretty boring for me. I think actually when I tried to get invested properly, I think actually I really couldn't. So yes, I think I got caught up too much in this, the aesthetics of the film, the whole kind of legend of it all and stuff, and because my obsession with kind of legends and fantasy and myth and all this kind of stuff, I got too caught up in that, and I didn't really connect with this film, and I kind of lied to myself based on my recollection of the film, even a few days later, and I got, of course, because it was in the midst of all these other ones that I do think are great, including Mononoke and stuff, and Totoro, of course, wonderful films, but this one for me, I don't think it is, and of course many people love this film, and that's great, but I think it's definitely my least favourite anime that I've seen. It's the only one that I don't think is actually great or very good. It's very, very on the borderline for me of being average and good, and because of the animation as well, that bumps it up, of course. There's wonderful animation here, although not as good as the really a lot of animation I've seen. It's really wonderful. It's kind of there's so much genius sort of visual moments in the film, of course, and especially towards the end. It's really wonderful stuff visually, but really. And the score, of course, Joe Hisaishi, wonderful score mostly. There's a couple of moments within the film. It's a bit generic, but really the main sort of theme and the kind of the ending segments and all this is very, very beautiful music. It's really moving, and it's kind of just got this atmosphere imbued in this. But again, really at surface level, and in terms of the visuals and the kind of the music of the film, is really the stuff that I would praise massively. The rest of the film, the characters, the narrative, just how engaging it is, the structure of the film, and just the kind of how one-sided a lot of it is, and kind of flat the characters are. I can't really say that this is a great film at all. In that sense overall, I think it does. It does feel flat a lot of the time. I did get bored. I think the first 40 minutes is the best of the film. I was thinking, I do kind of enjoy this quite a bit. But it's definitely not something I really connect to in terms of the characters and stuff. But really, after this, it does take a dip, and you've got the middle segment, which is definitely the worst, involving kind of they're around the water and stuff a lot of the time. And it's just kind of very, very flat. It's not a film that really, as well, straight away hooks me in the way that all the other animes that I've seen have. Akira is not a perfect film for me, and the worst apart from this for me. But wow, that really did invest me straight away. That is something else. The first 30 minutes of the film, and this, in comparison, really doesn't. Even to that, I think it doesn't really grab me too much. Apart from in terms of just thinking about the legend of it all, kind of the backstory, the actual characters in the present in the film just do not interest me really that much. So yes, this film overall is very, very it's close to being average, but because of the whole kind of the wonderful stuff that went into the, you know, the kind of the look of the film and just the artistry here, how creative some of the designs are. Again, I got too caught up in that last time and didn't really pay attention and kind of really get invested in the actual story and the narrative of what was actually happening with the characters and stuff. And yeah, just the overall script is not that great for me. But really, I think it is a good film, only just for me, and have to give it a 70%. I think this film, you know, it's really just very close, as I say, to being average. You know, I think I have a lot of flaws with this one, but again, this is merely my opinion of what many consider a great film. You know, I just think it's not. I love animation. You know, I think there's so many great animated films. Of course, anime as well. I've only seen, you know, around sort of 11 so far. But I do consider myself an obsessed fan of anime films. You know, because most of these are, you know, my favorite films list of all time. Really, apart from this one, actually, Ichirô even has a very, very, you know, kind of if you could say honourable mention place, my top 500. But you know, in terms of top 1,000, it's definitely on there. I did love the film overall, and you know, there's so many moments that are just masterful in that film. This one, you know, it's not anywhere near, you know, even Akira, and certainly not, you know, one of the best Miyazaki's. I think it's definitely the worst. It's just, it is, you know, it's great in its kind of in moments of his world building and kind of just the lore of the film, and of course the music, the visuals, you know. But I don't think any of the characters within this film are actually very good. I don't think the script is that great. I just don't think, you know, aside from the exposition of, you know, what's happened many, many years ago, I think this has got some ambitious themes in there. But again, the actual narrative of this, the protagonist, all this kind of stuff, the interaction between the characters, the action, is very, very basic for me. All this stuff falls short, and that's my honest opinion. I do love anime, you know, as I say, around about 10 films, you know, I've kind of pretty much most of the anime films I've seen are on my favourite films list. One of them films is in my top 50 of all time. You know, I do love animated films. I am obsessed. It's just, for me, this isn't, you know, a great one. Not even a very good one for me. So yes, my opinion, at the end of the day, this is just my thoughts. Well, I personally don't feel it's a great film, but again, objectively, I'm not saying that this is definitely not a great film. It's just my opinion. I have to emphasise that. And I do love anime. It's just this one. When I'm actually paying attention to this and kind of really trying to connect to this in the way that I should, I think it does. It doesn't really do it for me. It's on a surface level, it's very nice and kind of grand and kind of. It's got its atmosphere, definitely. The visuals are wonderful. The music mostly is great. Really is. Wonderful stuff again by Hisashi. But again, overall this film is very, very just basic. It's fine. It varies. Just very, very kind of average / good. 70% is kind of, it's all I can give it, I'm afraid. But yes, this film, you know, when I've actually watched this all the way through and paying attention to it, I don't think it's a great film, but it is a recommendable one. Probably, you know, judging by how acclaimed this is, most people that see this, you'll go and see it. If you've not seen the film, you will watch it and you'll love it. But for me, it's just the only anime really so far that I've seen that isn't, you know, it's very basic. It's just, it is quite boring at times for me, and it's just not that investing overall. And yes, falls short in some areas, but again, it's wonderful in its visuals and stuff, and of course, the animation, yeah, it just really is something else, definitely. And of course, yeah, you know, I think the only Miyazaki, and I kind of like the film still, but it's the only Miyazaki that I don't love. The rest of them have been absolutely stunning. Let me tell you, even Ponyo, which is not really regarded very highly, but I think this is far better than Nausicaä. And yes, it's a good film for me. I'm not hating on the film, but I do think it's just very, very run-of-the-mill kind of thing in the grand scheme of things, and just at times very boring for me and uninteresting, and just not compelling in many areas, including the characters, the overall present-day kind of narrative that it's set in. And yes, it's got some wonderful stuff in there, including the locations, but for me, Nausicaä is just a good film and nothing more, and that's my honest opinion. And yes, cannot wait to review more anime films, but yes, this one, while it's not a bad film, it is just a good film for me. And yes, thanks for watching my review.